So nearby Nisha, what man do you think is especially handsome?
I think we all know the answer to this
I do,
already.
but people at home might not.
Jensen Ackles.
There it is. During the 1980s and 90s, if you were a bored and lonely housewife who wanted to while away the afternoon, imagining getting absolutely railed by a... I don't know why I wrote that line. In an exotic locale by a randy pirate or tender but menacing barbarian king, there was one man you could count on. Fabio Lanzoni.
What?
A man who stumbled ass backwards into a career as one of the most well-paid male models on the planet, thanks in part to being so massively comically wide. First of all, Nisha, are you familiar with the concept of the trashy romance novel? I'm talking like the proto 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Well, they were very popular in the 1990s, so much so they even got referenced by The Simpsons. In that episode where Margie's reading the trashy novel on the couch while Lisa's playing the saxophone, and it's like the guy who looks exactly like Fabio, and it's a clear reference to him, and he's like, "Stop blowing my sax! I mean, stop blowing that sax!"
And only in this sweet embrace of quietude can two lovers truly be as... Ooh, such noise. Ooh. Well, I'm done for the evening.
Lisa, stop blowing my sax. I mean, stop blowing your sax. Your sax.
Oh god. And then yeah, 50 Shades of Grey came out, people went crazy, and then literally there was so many books that were trying to copy it as well.
Well, that's the thing, like, well, books featuring Fabio, they walked so 50 Shades of Grey could run. And like those novels were so popular, and almost all of them featured Fabio Lonzoni on them.
Who is Fabio?
Now, here's the thing, like, despite Fabio being one of the most famous men on the planet in the 1990s, like, he's a remarkably humble guy who basically just shied away from the spotlight after he'd achieved his success. And I'm low-key a huge fan of his, thanks to just how open he is about his success. Where he's talked about in interviews, going, "I'm well aware how lucky that I am. I didn't work very hard for anything in my life, and that's great." And it's like, you can't fault. He's like, "Yep, I didn't work very hard for anything I've achieved." It's fucking sick though, isn't it? And he has one of my favourite quotes about success, where he's asked, like, "Is it true you've been approached to like have your own reality TV show?" And his response is, "I've been approached to do near enough every reality TV show in existence, but I choose not to do them because I don't like the idea of working very hard." And when I read that quote, you know what? Fabio, unofficial Fact Fiend mascot, let's go.
Can relate.
And no doubt there's a picture of Fabio behind me, and I'd like to put a Fact Fiend t-shirt on him as, like, you know, the culmination of that joke, but as a male model, I feel like I shouldn't do that, because it makes it look like he unofficially endorses us, which we're not doing.
I mean, the Photoshop's that good.
That's the thing, I don't want to get sued by Fabio, he's such a cool dude.
It would have to be the Big Wangers Inc. one. Definitely. That's wide.
Well, we need to talk about the kind of things that he did to capitalise on his success as a male model, because many women liked Fabio, and Fabio was well aware of how much women liked him, especially middle-aged housewives. So he had, I shit you not, a like 1-900 number, I think it is, where you could call up and listen to him reading out romantic stories.
My God.
And then he has an album called Fabio After Dark, where it's him reading poetry. What a man!
That's amazing.
He's so good. Of course, we've got to mention just his cameo in Zoolander.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's getting like the Lifetime Achievement Award for male models, and like because he is the original male supermodel. So only do his cameos if you think they're going to be fun.
Just as one scene.
Yeah. Otherwise, he spends his time, and this is great, just riding dirt bikes around his mansion. During an interview once, said, "You really like dirt bikes, don't you, Fabio?" I was like, "Yes, I have over 300 dirt bikes." It's like, "Why do you have over 300 dirt bikes, Fabio?" And well, there's over 300 days in the year. And it's like, well, you can't argue with that. He's just living his best life. Fabio is mostly famous, or infamous, I should say, for his countless appearances on the covers of trashy romance novels, a sample of which you can see behind me right now. And Fabio graced the covers of so many such novels, he doesn't even know how many he's appeared on. Folks at home, if you're wondering how many covers did Fabio appear on, we don't know, because new ones are being discovered all of the time.
So is it actual pictures of him, or pictures that all look like him, like similar?
So the way they do it is he'd pose for a photo, usually in costume, and then a painter would use that as a reference point. And then they create a painting from that. Do you know that iconic look? Like, let's just zoom in on a few. They're all pixelated because like those are shit quality. Well, you just know.
Oh, yes.
So like similar to like movie, do you know what movie posters used to be when movie posters were actually painted by an artist? And sometimes they would use pictures as reference. And there is still this trend in fiction today. They mostly just use the photo of the model, which I think it loses a little bit of the charm. It's like modern movie posters where they're not painted anymore. It's just like a Photoshop picture of the actors. So I prefer the artwork, and it's similar to these. Like, even though these were like bottom of the barrel, like in regards to literature, they still have like some aesthetic, artistic value to me.
It's like when we talk about old horror films. I know a lot of the old horror film posters are painted like that, and you can tell which era films are from just from the style of the poster.
And I've often said I would love to go to like a just an art exhibit of all the like the original paintings like this and of the movie poster, like a Drew Struzan exhibit or something like that, who is amazingly still alive and doesn't get contacts anymore to do movie posters.
Oh,
Like the dudes, I did like all the Harry Potter ones, the Star Trek one, the Indiana Jones, and he's still alive, he still works, you can still book him out anytime you want. And movie studios are like, let's just pay someone to Photoshop 3 actors' faces in a different, like, facing into the middle distance.
to be fair, I remember like, I mean, I still would like it now, but that was one of the jobs that I wanted to do when I was younger. Like, I'd love to design movie posters. That was like something to aspire to. I mean, that's kind of like what we do with Photoshops.
Yes.
It's kind of like our own little mini posters. But yeah, that's quite a cool job. I feel bad now for taking it away from all these painters.
You know what, Nisha? At the end of this video, we'll create a trashy romance novel with Fabio as the star.
Okay.
So the story behind how Fabio became a male model is kind of amazing, because he initially travelled to the United States at the behest of his father, who was hoping that he'd fail. Like, he told his dad, I want to be a male model, and he's like, well, there's no money in that, son. You know what? Go to America, be a male model, hoping his son would fail, come back, want to get a proper job. And Fabio is seemingly a huge proponent of the adage, go big or go home, because it's noted that 30 minutes after arriving in New York, he had a contract for $150,000 a year with the Ford modeling agency.
Holy shit, how did that happen?
Well, it happened almost completely by mistake, because Fabio walked in to the Ford modeling agency without an interview, not really speaking much English, and just told them, hey, I need to speak to the guy in charge. And it just so happens that at that exact point in time, the guy in charge was in the middle of a meeting where they were trying to find a large European man to take part in an advertising campaign for Gap.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence that a large European man happened to walk through the door at that exact moment asking for a job.
Definitely fate.
And within 10 minutes of meeting, Fabio would sign on the dotted line at a $150,000 a year contract with that agency. And here's the thing, that made him, at that point in time, with his first proper gig, the highest paid male model in the world.
So that was his first contract, and he was earning more than anyone else.
Yep, his first gig with a proper modelling agency saw him being the highest paid male model in the world. But while he was doing that, he was still doing his side gig of posing for these romance novels. Because he found a quick and easy way to make money. He's just go in for an afternoon, take some photos in various states of undress or wearing various outfits, such as cowboy outfits or like a barbarian or something like that. Get paid a couple $100 for the day, and then probably not have to do anything more. And what he didn't realise is that those paintings ended up selling a lot of books. And he very quickly became one of the most in-demand models for publishing houses, to the point even Nintendo got in on it.
What?
Because Fabio is on the cover of a game called Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2. And it's just Fabio. It's just Fabio.
What the fuck?
But he got paid like a couple $100 to post that photo. So they dressed him up like a barbarian.
That's amazing.
Gave him a sword, took the photo, paid him a couple $100, and then he went on his way and then promptly thought nothing more of it. And it wasn't until he was at a party at one of these publishing houses where an agent let slip that, oh, did you know, Fabio, like, women really love you? And he's like, well, I'm Fabio, of course. And like, no, women really love you. And he's like, what do you mean by that? And this agent explained to Fabio that whenever they put a picture of him on the cover of one of their novels, regardless of what the actual content was, it would sell about 20 to 30% more copies. So just his mere presence on the front of the book would cause it to sell more copies. And that's why every single author and publishing house get Fabio. Because they were aware of this, get Fabio. It doesn't matter how shit the book is. If he's on the cover and the women think that he's the main character, or they can imagine him as the main character, we'll sell more copies. Get Fabio.
I'm just imagining like someone trying to sell a book that has nothing to do with men or anything, or any like humans that he's just on the front. It's like, it'll sell. It's got nothing to do with him.
Those old science textbooks. Those like old science textbooks where it's like people like surfing and stuff like that, completely unrelated to the topic at hand. Just put Fabio on the front of one of them. Yo, maybe we can do that. Maybe we can do that. Can we just get like a generic science textbook and just put Fabio on the cover and be like, yeah, science rules.
Learn some biology.
Anyway, like Fabio was completely unaware of this. And something we should know about Fabio is that he's a very business savvy man. And he briefly studied business before he realised, fuck this, I'm rich anyway. And when he learned this information, he was kind of annoyed because the publishing houses were making out like bandits off his image. He was getting paid a couple $100, something they were making tens of thousands of dollars from. So he decided, why don't I just cut out the middleman and start writing my own romance novels?
Really?
Yes, do you know those pictures I showed you earlier?
Yep.
Of him just dressed like this? I'm just going to scroll down a little bit now, Nisha. Fabio! They were written by Fabio!
Oh my god.
He wrote them himself. And here's the thing. Fabio did not write those novels. He claimed that he did, but it emerged many years later that, he had a ghostwriter, and then he just put his name on them.
Oh.
But he did commit to the gig, though, and when they were asking him about, oh, so Fabio, you're an author? And I was like, yes, I'm an author. So how do you write these novels? And he goes, it's very difficult because I'm sat in my palatial LA mansion looking out onto the ocean, as I often do, and then my dogs come up and lick my face. So he's like, trying to sell himself like the perfect man. It's like, yeah, I wander around my mansion thinking romantic thoughts with my two dogs, looking out at the ocean. Like, no, commit to the bit.
I have to mention this again because I thought of something
Okay.
funny. Bringing it back to the science textbooks and putting Fabio on front, because I said biology.
Yes.
Fabiology.
Fabiology. We could do it. Fab biology. I like it.
I could not say it. I'm like, yes.
We can do you know what? Fabiology. It's right behind us. Let's go. And one of the weirder things, though, is, despite him being on the cover of literally hundreds of books, as far as we know, because there could be more, because he spent, entire days doing these photo shoots, and he had no idea what happened to them, or how many books he appeared on the cover of, or in what regions. And he talked about once, being at a nightclub, and a woman came up to him, and he thought they were trying to awkwardly hit on him. He's like, hey, you look like the guy on the front of the book I'm reading. And he was like, okay. And he went, no, really, you look just like him. And they pulled out a copy of a book, and it's his own face. He's like, wait, that is me. That is Fabio. What's going on there? And then when he learned, a short while later, that, oh yeah, we've been using your image to sell so much crap. He's like, well, fuck you then, I'm going to do it myself. If anyone's going to make any money off Fabio's image, it's Fabio.
That's fair, yeah.
And that's where, he started the Fabio business empire with, the romantic 1-900 line where you'd call him up and listen to him reading stories, or his novel of after dark poetry. And we just, though, for a moment have to talk about how he'd take the photos, because he treated it like an art form. And that's one of the things they talk about, well, no one's going to top Fabio. This is still a cottage industry right now, but no one's going to become the next Fabio, because you can't top what he did. He was the entire industry for a while. And he was asked once, so how do you go about posing for a photo when, I don't know, I was like a wandering barbarian who's out there to, get some from these books and wenches? He goes, well, you have to take it seriously, of course. And keep in mind, he said this dressed like a fucking barbarian. He's like, what you have to do is you have to look at the camera and imagine the camera is a woman. And you have to imagine that you're saying to the camera, when I get hold of you, you know what I'm going to do. I am going to fuck you. And he's so serious, and I guess that's why he's so popular, because he treats it so seriously. Yeah. And no doubt the full quote will be in a fact bar below, but the idea of him staring at the camera like he's gonna fuck it is so funny to me. And I have to mention, before we close off, a great interview with Fabio, where they're talking to him about the idea of Instagram models as being the future of male modeling. It's so what do you think about these Instagram influencers and models who get their start on Instagram? I was like, well, I don't know what Instagram is because I've got a life. And it's just...
He'd be so good on Instagram, though.
He would fucking own Instagram, wouldn't he?
He would.
He would. So very quickly, Nisha, let's create our own Fabio novel. And we're going to start with the highest quality image of Fabio we can get behind us. And what do you want Fabio's profession to be in this novel?
Well, I was just thinking, even if we can't find a high quality image, we could just use one of the painted images. And if not, I could just add a paint filter.
We can do that, yes.
So what profession?
Yeah. Well, what's the profession that's not been mined for romantic... Potential.
Builder?
That's way too common. Builder, laying pipe. Come on, you know what? Fuck yeah, he's a builder. Give him a building hat and we're going to call it laying pipe with Fabio. Done.
Isn't that it? Nothing else.
That's all we need. And do you know what? Opposite that, let's get the full-size picture of that biology, of him with the lab coat and the glasses on. Get yourself a man who can do both, ladies and gents.